Hello everyone and welcome to the Monday Show with me, Skari, your grateful host. This is a patron bonus show. I do 2 of these shows every single week for the channel patrons, the Denizen community that lets me do what I do and supports me over on there. And sometimes I do it as an open forum for all of you to watch and see, if it's something that you would enjoy on a weekly basis. Hello, Foz. Haha, you did get the first comment. Normally it is Cosmic that gets the first comment when we start during the week, which is great. But hello, welcome everybody. This is Monday, the 19th of February, and I'm excited. It's going to be a good time, and I'm looking forward to all of the fun things that we will talk about. So, for anybody who hasn't been to a Monday show before, patrons get to ask questions like this, and I compile them in a cool little document, and then I read them, and we go over them. I talk about news, I talk about ramblings, I talk about stuff that I heard, we sometimes talk about meta, stuff that we see all over the place, and it's a really fun thing that we do on Mondays. The second bonus patron show is List Crunch, where you get to submit an army list, and I get to read it, and that happens on Thursdays. And so, yeah, this is a little cool thing that we do. And every once in a while, I do it for everyone, so we can all hang out and chill. And so chat's open, so I'm reading chat. Welcome, and if you're watching this past, thanks for leaving a like and commenting, and let me know if this is something that you enjoy. Happy Family Day for any Canadian ones, Canadian folks out there. It is a national holiday. It celebrates family. Hello, Raul. How's it going? I think in the U.S. it's President Day. I guess every day is Present Day. Get it? And you're welcome for the jokes, everyone. Other than that, well, so first, a couple of minutes of what has been happening in Skariland. Well, I've been practicing a lot of drukhari. That might come to a shock. That might come as a shock to a lot of you. However, staying sharp is very important, especially when one is trying out for the Canadian national 40K competitive team. So I've been playing a lot of Warhammer. I've got about almost 20 games now with the new Detachment, and it has been a very fun, wild ride because I'm learning a lot about the Sky Splinter Assault. And it is a blast. I played some Crusade. We played in the doubles this past weekend. So Dustin Henshaw from the Stud or Scrub podcast, who's my fellow co-host, and I teamed up to go to a tournament. And Dustin is a absolute killer on the tabletop. So it's really cool to go with someone. He was playing Gene Stealer Cult that has the same sort of thought process as I do when it comes to scoring points, and we just vibe super good well on the table. I ended up winning a little RTT, a little doubles tournament. It was 3 rounds. It was really fun. Had a lot of fun as well. So I was enjoyable. I think the thing that surprised me the most was just how much stuff I fit at 1,000 points. And then with the Gene Stealer Cults, it's how much stuff we fit in on him, on his list, and just combined, it was nuts. It was wild. Mikey Higgins says, how many geese will you include in the list? I know that goose picture just got everyone's excited about this goose picture that Games Workshop released, I guess. And it's probably some sort of fantasy model or something that has a hunter, and he's or a little puppy that's chasing a goose or something like that. Or was it a mallard duck? I don't know. It looked like a goose to me. I guess everything looks like a goose when you're a pilot. Get it. So, yeah, other than that, it's been good. So, gaming-wise, good. Lots of games. There's the Patron League, so the Denizen community. We started a little league. It's 4 rounds. We just finished our first round. Second round is goes for the next 2 weeks. So that's going to be fun. I had a fun game against James, and he played his Black Templar Ironstorm, and ended up playing that game. We streamed it over on the Discord, so there was quite a lot of people watching, which was really awesome. And I got to see how I play the. Everybody got to see how I play the Sky Splinter Assault, which I think was really fun. And then James ended up learning quite a few things about screening, which is it was a fun game though. James and I had a good time. And then next, I think I play Colin for the next one, which is cool. Anyway, I'm having a ton of fun. It's 24 players that we have in our little patron league, and we're hopefully going to be doing these more often on TTS, so that we all get to play and hang out and roll some dice and kind of learn, and you know, it's a very cool vibe as well. So if you haven't signed up already or haven't thought about getting involved with one, the next one we'll start planning probably in a couple of weeks towards the end of the last round or middle of the third round, and then like that we can be ready to go pretty much right away. Brant says, Happy President Day. We did talk about that earlier today. Yeah, I like my presents every President's Day. But hello to you as well. And hello to all the internet who's just hanging out. I'm Skari, by the way, if you didn't know. And I play Dark Eldar. And I coach people to play 40k. And I make battle reports. And I like competitive and narrative gaming. I also play Age of Sigmar and The Old World. I do a lot of stuff. I recently reinstalled Baldur's Gate 3. I had spent like 300 hours in like 2 weeks playing, and so I uninstalled it. But now I feel that I'm able to enjoy it better, and I'm able to like stop it and be like, okay, so you know what? I'm enjoying the game now that I'm not like rushing through it or trying to do absolutely everything. I'm playing a new run. I'm playing a druid that's mimicking my character that I'm playing in a current like actual tabletop Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And I'm having a lot of fun sort of mimicking, like, mirroring that character that I've sort of built in the other thing. Hey, Christian, what's going on? Okay, so, without further ado, let's dive into the Monday show. Of course, you know, I think Super Chats are ones that pop up. So if you want a Super Chat and you're not a patron and you want me to get your question, I can do that too. Okay. Yes, you play all that, but when are we going to see CBR? What game is that? I don't know acronyms. You have to spell it out for me. Do you see that every character is Nicolas Cage meme? No, I haven't seen that. There's so many Nicolas Cage memes. Like, how can you... There's just too many. There are too many memes. Okay, so let's dive into some of these questions. And then we'll intersperse it with chat. How does that sound? And then after this, I'm going to go to take my kid to the Mandarin, and we're going to eat food, and it's going to be delicious, and I'm going to fill my belly up with delicious food, and then I drive to Mini Wargaming, and then I got 2 days of filming, and the cycle begins anew. And then this weekend, RTT, so make sure you stay tuned, laser focused. We got an RTT in review coming for 40k. First full RTT with the Sky Splinter Assault. So gotta flex those drukhari muscles. Cassius belly. Oh, that Cassius belly. You mean like the like little tiny stands one? Yeah, I like those. Those are really cool. The Storm, what's going on? It's awesome, Skari. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Roman Legion's game. Yes, I did. DBA. That's Bellis Antiquitate, basically, or whatever it is, right? It's like what I call DBA. Is it the same name? Or did it switch its name? Yeah, I actually have my Roman Legion here, actually. Where is it? Is it in here somewhere? I don't know if it's in here somewhere. I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere. No, not in there. Okay, it's somewhere. Well, I'll find it. I actually was painting it not too long ago. Okay, Raymond asks, how do you deploy? This is in relation to Warhammer 40,000. Says, how do you deploy in a way that both maximizes your ability to have a strong start when you go first or second? So my main philosophy when deploying is deploy as if you're going to go second. So that's like the number one thing. Now, you have to build tools into your list that allow you to take advantage of going first. In the Drukhari case, I have the Beast Pack, which allows me to exert pressure and kind of push the enemy back, or threaten like small screening units, or the chaff, like to kill the chaff. And a Beast Pack is very, very effective at that. It's one of the units that really helps me develop the game, right? So it's like an initial play piece. If I go first, especially, but usually when I go second. But if you deploy as if you're going to go second, it's more about not losing the game if you go second. And I think that philosophy is one that I've ingrained into my brain over many, many years of playing. Like, the last thing I want to do is deploy in a way that looks cool, because a lot of folks, they just want to, oh, this tank would go here, right? Or these, like, this is kind of where it would go. It's not about, like, does it look cool, or is this where it would go? It's about hiding and being like, if my opponent goes first, can they shoot me, right? And if the answer is yes, then you've probably deployed in a bad spot, unless there's literally nowhere to hide, right? And sometimes that does happen, and you just have to grit your teeth at that point. But the philosophy is that maximize your ability to not lose on turn 1 because you went second. Like, that is key. But thank you for your question, Raymond. Raul Raniga says, hey, Scary, fairly new to Mandrakes. They are the best, by the way. They score me so many points. They are amazing. Trying to understand how to use them more efficiently. Is there a video you have on how to use them? I'm using them at the moment to score secondaries, but are there other ways to get more out of them? I do not have a video specifically on the use of mandrakes. I have not been very good at doing small, specific, technical videos, because I talk about it all the time everywhere, that I probably need to like break them down into a series of small, like couple of minute long videos where I can just go, this is an example, this is an example, this is an example. And it is something I'd like to do more. The thing that's kind of like, I guess there's about a year before the Codex comes out. Like, we don't even know when the Dark Eldar Codex is going to come out. So I just hate it when I make a video and then the rules change or something changes drastically, and then they're like, oh, that's just not going to be how it works anymore. And then it bums me out because I did all that work on that video, but then I have to do it again. But yes, I can definitely make something like that. So is there other ways to use them? Some people say blocking. I'm not sure how that would work. For what purpose? Thanks heaps. I would love to see those kinds of videos and general principles for drukhari also, says Christian. That's noted, and I was thinking today about doing maybe 2 or 3 videos. We'll see how you will like them. If they're popular, then I can continue making them, right? Because as it stands, time invested in making videos in direct relation to like making money to be able to pay my bills, right? So if there's a good correlation there, then it works out, right? And also, not like, the reason I do the job I do is to spend time with my kid. So if that cuts into like, do I need, like, where can I get the time to do that? So as long as it all lines up, perfect. But if it's very popular and people love it, amazing. Then I'll do it for all of you folks out there. Actually, leave a comment in the description or down below. Leave a like on the video. Be like, yes, Scary, we want little, short, concise tactical videos. And that'll encourage me to make them. As for move blocking or zoning, so when it comes to mandrakes, for example, right? So I tend to try and keep them alive as long as possible. I find that the longer my mandrakes are alive, the higher likelihood I am of winning the game. That's just any game that I don't win, or that I almost lose, or that's like a lot tougher. My mandrakes have died soon in the battle, or I had to commit them too early in the game. Any game that I've been doing very well tends to be a game that has my mandrakes for the entirety of the game. So if my opponent's going to get very aggressive, or they have scouts or infiltrates, I'll sacrifice 1, maybe 2 units. That's why I have 3 of them. I can screen out the midboard. If my opponent goes first, they tend to die, sadly. Or sometimes they don't, and that's perfect. If they don't have any aggressive board state stuff, I put them in the back. I try to keep them alive. And then every turn, I just pick them up. And then I do my movements. And then what I tend to do with them is go, okay, so if I need to screen out the table and prevent folks from deep striking or anything like that, mandrakes are have a great ability to just deep strike, so I can use them to fill all the gaps of where all the... Because I needed this venom to go here to shoot this, and I needed this unit of incubi to run this way to go kill that, and I need this thing to go over here to charge this. So it sometimes leaves gaps in like the backfield where folks could like deep strike things. So then I use mandrakes and I just string them out just to make sure there's like bubbles 9 inches from each mandrake so that nothing can deep strike. So they can just drop down and fill all my movement gaps, basically. So that's how I used to block, right? To stop people from being able to deep strike in and whatnot. Danny says, I've started using mandrakes as skirmishers more, dropping 2 or 3 units down. Okay, shooting with dev wounds and attacks in combat is pretty great. Mandrakes are low-key one of the best combat units we have, actually. I've debated taking a 10-strong unit just so I could have, like, if you wanted to do 10 of them in a raider, right? And you don't have to deploy them in the raider, they could deploy outways, but they could jump into the raider after. But you jump out, you have 20 shots that ignore cover at strength 5 if they come out, right, with devastating wounds. And then if you charge, you have 30 strength 5 attacks that can reroll hit rolls with a pain token, and then are AP 1, and if they got to have a transport, they're lance. So the strength 5 lance. Like, that's actually not terrible. It's a lot of attacks. Anyway, that's just stuff that has happened. It's just like, you know, it's one of those things that could work. You know, I would probably run 1 big brick at 10 and then 2 squads of 5, but then they become like their own target. So is it worth it? Is it not worth it? You know, that's always the scales that you measure as an MSU drukhari player, basically. I'm excited to get my hands on the mandrakes and kill team. Yes, I'm excited. I've got 15 of the old mandrakes. I want some new ones. I cannot wait. It's going to be very exciting. But they just released, was it the scouts and the... They just say pre-release, right, of the boxes of the scouts and the striking scorpions or something. So now you can buy them individually. Neat. But thank you for your question, Raul. The RPG Luminary asks, I'm on the cusp of winning my first ever event. That's fantastic. That sounds really, really cool. I have a final game against Votann. Any recommendations or suggestions for taking World Eaters into Votann? Mind you, I've never played against Votann, ever, in both 9th and 10th. So, Votann, depends on what Votann's style of list, but a lot of Votann players are doing the Sagittors with lots of little units inside. One of the things you can do is make sure you get your Exalted 8 bound up and try and tie as many things up in close combat so they fail their battle shock tests and can't run away from you. And if they can't run away from you, then you kill them. Like, you just kill them. They have lots of shooting. They shoot really well. They've got high efficient shooting. The biggest thing I would say is watch out for berserkers if they have any. They're 3 damage and they can fight on death, or they fight on death. So they can kill your Exalted 8 bound and stuff. If you're using Angron, don't be afraid to use them aggressively, and just don't forget they have MSU. So you have to kill like 2 or 3 things to their 1, right? So everything you have. Like, don't get too passive, but, like, if stuff is in the open, it tends to die against Votann because they have a lot of guns. They're shooty, and they can score lots of points. So you have to really kind of be aggressive in the stopping them from scoring. And kill all the Sagittors. Those little transports, just kill them as fast as you can. Because they're really annoying. Yeah, no problem, Raul. What is MSU, says Christian? MSU stands for multiple small units. So instead of having 1 unit of 10 incubi, I run 2 units of 5. Instead of running 1 unit of 10 mandrakes, I run 2 units of 5. Instead of keeping my Cabalites as a 10, I run them as 2 units of 5. So instead of having 15 units to do stuff with throughout the course of the game, I have 30 units to do stuff with over the course of the game. It's multiple small units. Is basically what it boils down to. On a much less serious note, if you had to choose between the two, barbecue chicken or a barbecue ribs, the world wants to know. Barbecue ribs. A good rack of delicious ribs. Yummy. Or pulled pork. So good. Yeah, no problem, Christian. And now the world knows, RPG. Thank you for your question. Okay. Chetos asks, hello, my lord. Hello. I just want to thank you for your tips from last week regarding the Imperial Guard. That's fantastic. I managed a victory yesterday against them, 90 to 69. Nice. My 2 Beast Pack units were amazing and crucial. All in all, what do you think are our best and worst matchups right now? That is a fantastic question. So if I were to rank sort of like our best and worst matchups in general, I would say our best matchups are everything, because we can win every game. I've proven that. I'm joking, okay? Space Marines are pretty good for us. Orcs are actually a pretty good matchup for us. Votan is a very good matchup for us. Especially if you have Haywire. The toughest matchups that I have right now would be Necrons. Like, not all Necrons. Like, I recently played a game against Necrons and crushed the Necrons. But that's only because they had 2 Satan and then larger units of Wraiths. And I can, like, we can kill Wraiths. Like, we just nuke Wraiths. So it wasn't like the worst matchups are ones with like 3+ Satan. Those are like just annoying because it takes so much effort to kill a Satan. But I think that's everyone right now. Like anybody who runs into like 5 Catan or whatever, they're like, it's not an easy matchup. So that would be one of them. Guard can be tricky, especially if they have like a lot of experience with it and lots of out-of-line sight shooting. Sisters of Battle are probably one of our toughest. Because if we're back to this 9th edition trade game, right? They have better trade units. And like Arcoflagellants, a big brick of 10 of those is like 150 points. That's 2 units of Incubi, or a unit of Incubi and an Archon. That's 5 Incubi and an Archon. And they get 20, 4-up feel no pain wounds, plus 60 attacks that will shred anything in our army. So you have to, and they've got faith dice, which, spike that damage. If they've got a 6 lying around and they hit and wound and you fail a save on a Venom with a Hunter Killer Missile, they're just like, oh, instantly die. They don't even have to roll the damage. They're like, that's dead. So Sisters of Battle, I think, are one of our toughest matchups. As for other good matchups, I think Demons is not a bad matchup for us. Especially with all the like Plague Bearers we're seeing and little Nurglings and stuff and big like monsters. Like we can actually kill stuff now, especially in combat. Like those Incubi don't mess around with the Archon. They kill things, which is really, really good. Hey, Richard Wallace, thank you for the shout out. Karga says Knights, ? Knights is a very easy matchup if you have Haywire. And Chaos Knights is not terrible, because you can out-OC the little Knights if you have like lots of little units. And if you have Haywire. Haywire is just absolute money. And then you can actually kill things in combat now. Like before you couldn't really kill the Warglaives or the Armigers or the War Dogs in combat. Like 5 Incubi and Archon will like pick up a small Knight, just like in a combat phase. That just didn't happen before. So we can now kill them in shooting and combat and not just shooting. So that's like a much better matchup than it was. Death Guard can be very tricky, and Custodes are super tricky. Mainly because of the fact that they have Fights First. Fights First is just annoying. So anything that has Fights First can be really tricky to play against as Dark Eldar. And anything that has Fights on Death. Like Sisters have a fight on death. They also have a, you can only attack this unit because I've got a stratagem. So they can pull off some weird, tricksy stuff with like little Crusaders and things like that can be very frustrating. Very annoying. But I hope that gives you some food for thought. There are like 20-some factions in the game. So the more you go, well, this and that, and you could cross-reference, and then you end up looking like Charlie from, old Sunny in Philadelphia or whatever. Just like, the point, like all the stuff. Anyway, is that for all factions if they go full vehicles? Example, armor guard with Dorns, etc. Haywire is just really good into the meta right now, Dark Jay. So it's just really good. Haywire is fantastic. Yeah, Tyranid Monster Mash is this. I have no issues with Tyranids. Dark Lances kill the monsters, and then Haywire can kill tanks. Also, Haywire can kill monsters in a pinch if you roll some 6s. But now, with Incubi, like, Incubi can go into a monster and just kill it now. Like, we didn't have that option before. That is just something that we can do now. Also, Grenade is your best friend. And Tank Shock, and Vicious Blades. If you need something tough to die, keep those 3 command points in your pocket. But thank you for your question, Chetos. Zach asks, the fly keyword nerf is what really kills. I think that's in relation to Hellions. That wasn't a question. That was, boop. That was not a question. That was an answer to a question I answered last week. I just noticed that right now. But in relation to Hellions, because we were talking about Hellions, like, why were they crap? And one of the reasons, big reasons, is they don't have the fly change, so they have to go around buildings and things, and it's really just really annoying. I do want to try and make Hellions work. So maybe once I've, like, completed my stint with, like, Sky Splinter Assault in terms of, trying the MSU builds and lots of Venoms and Incubi, I might just do an all-witch cult list again and see how it feels. That's Incubi, not Incubi, Witches, Succubus, Lilith, Reaver Jet Bikes, Hellions, right? And maybe a couple of planes. And Scourge still fit in everything because they're mercenaries. So do Incubi, technically. And last question on the list for today is, what kind of lists, if any, really want to use the old real space raid detachment when we're talking about drukhari? I imagine some Coven heavy Talos spam lists might, but even then, aside from the -1 to wound strat, I don't see a lot of good that detachment offers, and Coven don't need the extra pain tokens nearly as much. Yes, that is a great question. I think the biggest thing there would be how many transports are you using? Like, I think the real space raid detachment definitely benefits Coven the most. Being able to have a -1 to wound strat is great. It's not going to win you a game, but it keeps your Talos and potentially your Grotesques alive. Now, the extra pain tokens are fine, but it does mean that, because you have lots of pain tokens, you can use them a lot in a lot of ways. You got Talos that can, like, power up and just have pain tokens. You got your Chronos that you can use to recycle pain tokens or use them as screens. You got lots of racks that give you extra pain tokens. You've got Urien and Homunculus, all this cool stuff. Now, the Real Space Raid Detachment has one good one for Witches, which is Advance and Charge, sure. However, you get that in Sky Splinter and Move and Get Out and Charge, right? And then you've got the ability to get Lance on your weapons. And I think that specifically, the Lance on your weapons when you get out of a transport, kind of just makes the case for which detachment is better. Because even for racks, like against big tough stuff that their poison doesn't wound, you kind of want them to be wounding on better than a 6. And so if they jump out of a raider and go punch something, that works really well. And in terms of pain tokens, just adding Homunculus units to a Sky Splinter Assault helps you with the pain token problem. So that is a little less of an issue. So if you decide to go for like 2 bricks of Grotesques, right, 3 units of Talos, and then say 2 big bricks of racks and a couple of small screening units of racks, Real Space Raid is not bad because then at least you keep them alive. And then the pain token buff, +1 AP in combat, works. However, you might even still want to take an Archon with some Incubi just for an extra pain token, and then a Succubus or Lilith with Witches because they're okay, but they're not as good as in a Real Space Raid. I mean, a Sky Splinter. So I think only Coven with a couple of support units for Real Space Raid. And then if you're going for a more balanced approach with more options, Sky Splinter, which I cannot recommend enough, Sky Splinter is the best. Yes, we have 2 detachments. Just that's the one that is good. Jason says, real space raid for shooty team tournament list. I honestly like Sky Splinter better for shooting, because you can take the Cavalite Warriors, split them into the Venoms, then have the little shooty units in a Venom pop out and ignore cover, right? Ignore cover, get back in, ignore cover. So that alone gives all your ranged weapons plus 1 AP, which is just good. And if you're worried about the Scourge taking too many pain tokens, don't forget, your teammate can give you all the pain tokens if you're going to a team event. Oh, is it team tournament, like 8-person teams or 5-person teams? That's a little skew. I would try and make a more balanced list that could fight into a variety of different things there, Jason, as well. Dark J says, you said Custodes fight first gives you problems. Do orcs with fight on death give the hard too? Yes, but at least orcs die. So, and it's like you come in, you can kill the orcs, and then they kill you back because they fought on death. At least that trade was like, boom, boom, you both took each other out. Fights first with Custodes is number 1. They fights first, they attack you. And then number 2, you probably are going to have a hard time killing them with a 4-up invulse save anyway. So you have to sort of wait till they're off objectives and then pounce on them. But a good Custodes player against Dark Eldar is going to have a toe on an objective the entire time. So at that point, you have to sort of hope that you make them fail the battle shock test with the Incubi if you're going to charge, which is very unlikely because it's on a 6, right? That they pass. So it's just like the variance is not there. Well, it's like not, it's heavily not in your favor. Yeah, so. But yeah. Other than that, I'm going to continue practicing and playing some games. I'm running my new iteration at the next RTT, which has 3 Archons in it, and 3 units of Incubi, and my Reaver jet bikes. I think I'm going to keep the Reaver jet bikes in for this one and see how it feels, and then we'll kind of go from there. But the Reaver jet bikes is like 60 points that I don't really know what to do with, which does 2 things. 1, gives me another screening unit, a heat lance, extra mortal wounds in the movement phase against like infantry and stuff. But on the upside is if in 3 months they give us, like, Dark Eldar players like a boost in points, that's like 60 points that I can just remove from my list. I don't really care. It doesn't really change my list too much. So then I can keep my list pretty much the same. Which I think is a good thing. Okay. Well, folks, with that, thanks all for hanging out for today's edition of the Monday Show. Of course, this is a patron bonus show, so if you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, check the link in the description down below. And a huge shout out to the channel denizens. You're the best community on the internet. We have a Discord, an exclusive Discord. We're running exclusive Tabletop Simulator League now. And I do 2 of these bonus videos every single week for the patrons, as well as the regularly scheduled content on YouTube. So it's thanks to the patrons that I get to do what I do. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week until the next one. Other than that, thanks a lot to everybody in chat for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, and you are all amazing. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Dark Kin. Bye, everybody.